I know we have a few people that have been chiming in about what they've been doing to help reduce stress and anxiety. I am with you, Carly. I want to start doing some lying down yoga at the end of the night. That sounds great. I've been using Gilmore Girls to put me to sleep, so it sounds a little bit better than blue light before bed. This was great, and it looks like Angela said too. She's been juicing fruits and veggies. That sounds amazing. Bible reading and practicing some self care. Giving myself a pedicure. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to get a pedicure again. That's going to be incredible. We'll kind of get started. As far as beekeeping goes, a lot of you guys have already commented on the post or sent an email with what you've been doing to pivot your business. That's been awesome. Feel free to keep sending those my way. I'll need all of those by the end of the day, Friday, so we can make sure everyone's entered in the raffle for Monday. Other beekeeping things, I think that's really it for this week. We will be releasing the schedule for you for next week here by tomorrow. So I'm excited for what we have next week, and the couple of weeks ahead are also super exciting. We've got some really great people lined up for you, so that'll be awesome. So now I'm going to hand it over to Jacob here. He's going to be leading today's segment with a little drawing activity for all of us, just to kind of take our mind off of everything else, focus, get a little creative. So I know I'm super excited. I've got my pad of paper here, and I can't wait to see what Jacob has for us.
Excellent.
All right, hand it over and I'll pin your video for
you. Hey, good morning. That's all you really need is, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Cool. That's all you really need is like pen and paper, maybe pencils, maybe erasers, markers if you have it. But hey, good morning, everyone. I'm Jacob. I'm an illustrator, an artist. I live here in Des Moines, Iowa. So greetings from Iowa, and a little bit about kind of what I'm doing, the history that got me here. I have always, taken art classes like one at a time. I never really studied art formally, but have just been doing this full time for the last year and a half. And a lot of the things that I work towards involve public art. I spent a long time cooking, buying food, and found that to be very selective. So as I was channeling my art through cooking, is like the root of that is the art form of it. And so I'm happy to be fully immersed in the art world now. Until I got to that point, I have always been sketching during meetings or in school. So it's something that, as I connect the dots now, I realize it helps relieve stress, it helps me be creative, it helps me kind of stay in the moment. And so I think a lot of the themes that I work around, as I kind of continue to draw, and then I zoom out a little bit and I see some common themes between drawing and stuff. With mental health, I work with a better food system, and I work on leaving any place better than I find it in terms of reduced print or picking up litter or traveling to natural places and national parks and such. So those are the three themes that I tend to kind of center my work around. I'll show you some examples of some works, and then I have a setup where I'll demo a few things, and then I think if we can all just kind of hang out, and it'd be cool if we could all have the microphones on and chat kind of during a 30-minute drawing session. People could chat, people could ask, how would you draw this, how would you draw that, but the exercise itself is just a 30-minute free draw, and the most important things to this exercise are it's not a place to judge. It's not your job at all, whether bad stroke, sharp line, an accurate line. It's more just about hand movement. It's about music we're listening to. It's about really just breathing techniques as well, just kind of staying in the moment, and most importantly, just moving the pen, keeping the pen moving. So I'm going to show you some examples, and then we'll jump into that exercise. What's up, everyone? This is Willie May, my dog. This is a painting of a KitchenAid mixer. I like playing with abstraction to the point where it's recognizable, but it's different, it's eye-catching, it's got some movement. Here's a sketch of, this is Man in the Yellow Hat. This sketch became this painting, so it's pretty neat. This is something that came out of free drawing, something that came out of not judging what I was doing, just kind of putting pieces together, and then it led to this. So that's kind of how I operate. Here's some examples of some hand drawings. This would be something that really falls under my mental health category, where again I was just doing an exercise of free drawing. Started with these circles, and I just kind of captured an emotion. And I think a lot of what I work towards is random motion, because to me that's one of the most authentic forms of expression that you can have, is just kind of like a random gesture. So I use that in this to capture emotion. Sometimes I work with watercolor. This is some pizza, again, kind of playing with the borders of abstract and illustration. Here's an example of something that's fun to do during this exercise. I'll start right here with an eyeball. So I'll make this line and those lines, and then I'll kind of go out from there. But that's something I invite you to work on today, is just when you get stuck, maybe just start with something like an eyeball, make a gesture. Even if you're just making little squiggles and adding lines, even just moving, creating patterns, I think that'd be a very successful use of this exercise today. Here's a cityscape. I'm really drawn to clouds. I really enjoy that. And usually I draw an astronaut or some kind of space character. Okay, so I'm going to get set up and just kind of draw for 30 minutes. So feel free to chime in with questions or suggestions or conversation. But
Definitely. So what I'm going to do here, I'm going to take everybody, give everybody the allow to talk access, so people can kind of chime in and be a part of all of this.
Yeah. Any questions? And let's just kind of hang out and let's chat about what everyone's been up to and all a little bit. Does the sound okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hear? Okay.
Looks like I have everyone's talking permitted, so all you'll have to do, everyone, is just take your mic off of mute if you have anything you'd like to ask or need any guidance or anything like that. Yeah.
Cool. So I'll usually keep like some kind of trinket around for inspiration. This is just dinosaurs, so if anyone wants to incorporate that.
Hi, Jacob. I have a question. This is Blythe, and I'm a custom cookie artist, so an artist but in a different medium.
Cool.
How often do you have to, or do you get challenged to draw something with parameters? Like, is most of your art that just you sit down and you just start to create, or do you have a clientele, or do you have I guess a clientele that says, I really desire you to create this for me. I want, So how much of it's free? How much of it from other people?
Maybe like 70% free right now and 30% with clients. I had an awesome project lined up in early March to draw like 4 murals for a business that they make salad dressing and salsa. They're a co-packer. So they asked for 4 murals, and one of them was like Mickey Mouse, and one of them was their logo, and one of them was a shark, and so that's some parameters. That's an example of parameters. I'll also do like RFP used for a mural project, and I'll have to think about like what would be appropriate for a city versus what is something I think is cool. So there's definitely design clients that I have. I started collaborating with an artist during this quarantine. He's a musician. He's got this incredibly low voice, and it's like modern R&B, modern rap music, but he's just like, here's the track, and if you can illustrate the cover, that would be great. And he gave me total freedom. So it's a really customer to customer basis, but I am out cold calling. I do a lot of like free work where I just think putting myself out there leads to another project. So it's a mix between cold calling, people asking me what I have available. For example, like in my web store, I just have prints available. And then, like 30%, I probably have somebody say, like, can you do this particular parameter?
Okay, then a follow-up question to that. I was just, when they have you drawing within parameters, you're drawing for a client, how many options do you usually give them? Totally just curious. Do you just come with, like you said, you were doing, stuff for like a co-packer. Do you offer, several different labels for the salad dressing, or do you just kind of go in with your best one? Does that make sense?
So much hope. Yeah, it does. So much of that hopefully is exhausted through the kind of discovery phase. But if that discovery phase like cripples my creation, then I just have to reach out again and say like, wow, now that I dug into this, there's like 15 different Mickey Mouses to choose from. Are you thinking like 1920s Mickey Mouse, or are you thinking Pixar's Mickey? So it just is. When I realize that I get stuck, I definitely understand that's a point to kind of ask another question, or but hopefully when I do share something that I don't think's finished, I just make it a clean, really like bold point to just say this isn't finished yet. But and sometimes that like leads to vision. I think that can be distracting to not share that final product, but I think it's a case-to-case basis where, yeah, for that Mickey Mouse example, I had to kind of key in figuring out which direction they wanted to go in. What about you? Are you, you probably have a selection of things you make, and then customers will come in wanting, like,
I do, yes. Most of it's customs. So I am often surprised how many customers I have that just see something that I've done and say, I want that. And I'm like, okay, well, I can easily do it because I've already, done it or done it several times. But I guess
but you would like that challenge.
I had that creative thing where I'm like, you could change that. You could,
customize.
Right. And I mean, I think you run into two different types of clientele. Some that are, really creative themselves and are visualizing it and then are trying to pull you into their vision, which I love. And then I have the clientele too, which is, I see this and this is what I want. And that makes it easy because I don't have to think. And then I have the clientele too that says, I just know I need cookies. Here's the color, here's the event, and you do whatever you want. And I love that. So I definitely get both, but I was, I don't know, every time I hand off an order, I'm kind of crossing my fingers and thinking, oh my gosh, I hope you like it. Like, I hope my interpretation meets your expectation. I guess that's...
How long have you been doing custom cookies?
As a company since 2016, but cool. Probably for probably about 15 years, maybe.
Cool. Yeah, I've been at the company for a year, and before that I sold in sales, so I think there's a lot that translate, in terms of like a sale, even in cookies or painting and drawing. So it gets complicated when it's your personal art, and so it leaves your hand and you're like, oh yeah, I hope that, yeah. So I definitely relate to that. Where, but to that feeling, I go back to like a Julia Child saying where she would never, like if she burnt something, she would never say like, oh, this dinner would be so good if I burnt it or if I didn't burn it. So it's all about kind of just not pointing out that something got a little charred and it still tastes great.
Yeah,
so I think there's some of that too, where it's like, yeah. And so I hope to like chat in that direction too, is in terms of like the mental health of what we do too, where it's like you could be in your head just being like, oh, they're gonna notice that one thing. It's like, it's so nice to have these little like Julia Child reminders that it's probably your eye that sees it before anybody else sees it. So.
That's what my husband continually reminds me. He's like, you for sure are your worst critic.
It's so, yeah.
The artist knows.
There's a mix of that where it's like some of that's motivation. You have to be motivated by that so you don't turn into something horrible. So there's like a balance to it. Like it definitely has to exist. But yeah, that's where the mental health component comes in for me, where it's like just so much of my work took a turn for the better once I just I created exercises where I posted something every day, so that eliminated like, is this a good post? Is this not a good post? I had to get something out there. So I think a lot of like the exercises and creativity, the systems that we build can help. Does anybody else have like organizational systems or workflow systems?
As far as systems go, no, but I was going to kind of chime in and
Is anybody stuck? Yeah.
I I was just gonna say, off of what Blythe said, from that kind of design side of things, I think a lot of us can be that same way. We are our own worst critic because we know in our minds exactly what that vision looked like. And so for us, sometimes I feel like we think we're compromising that vision, even though like the client or the audience might never know what that truly looked like.
Right. So that exercise for me becomes perfection and just getting to that point where perfection doesn't prevent me from moving forward or progressing. So whether that's, I don't know, I think that's tough for everybody. I think I built into some of my style, freestyle, so that allows me to be imperfect. But I think, again, just recognizing all these opportunities just to be nicer to ourselves and say, like, oh, the corner doesn't fit, but you can still tell it's a corner of a building. So.
And it looks like, too, I have a note here from Angela. She said, I'm putting systems in place now with the downtime that she has. So, Angela, if you want to, you can go ahead and unmute your microphone if you'd like to talk a little bit more on those with us.
Systems. Hi, everybody. Hey, about some systems that I'm putting in place.
Yeah.
Well, I found that you kind of want your business to run like a well-oiled machine, and at certain points you kind of see gaps or areas that need to maybe problematic areas that need to be kind of tweaked. And so that's what I was kind of finding in my business. I was trying to work on the back end of it so that when clients come to book my services, I'm setting up some automated systems now. Mm-hmm. So I'm working through like Flowdesk to set up some automated email systems and workflows, and then also from the point that someone hits the link in my IG page, I'm trying to set up some automatic workflow systems so that it's kind of an easy way, that it's easy for them to book these makeup artists. So that's what I've been doing. So for this whole week, like I've been on Flowdesk and I've been getting together templates and looking through Pinterest and writing copy and just kind of doing the back end so that everything can run smoothly in my business.
That's awesome. I know that's something. Oh, go ahead, Jacob.
Yeah, maybe I was drawing and focused on that too, but I missed what your business does. What is your business doing?
I'm sorry, I didn't say. I'm a makeup artist, and what I do is I do private makeup parties for people on through Zoom. So a person, let's say, kind of wanted a party, then she could book a party for her and her friends using me as the makeup artist. And so I would teach her and her friends how to apply makeup, the foundation, the eyeshadow, how to apply brows, how to apply lipstick, and that sort of thing.
Do you have a mix between people that want to use a lot of makeup and people that are like, I just want to learn lipstick? Like this one, is it surprising when somebody's like, I just want to learn one thing? Or is it always like the whole piece put together?
Yeah, it's usually when people want to learn makeup, they want to learn the whole piece, only because a flawless face looks the best when the whole piece is put together. Like anybody can just put on lipstick, and you just have pretty lips, But when you learn how to apply makeup and you learn and understand how to make your whole face look flawless. And really what it's about is bringing your best features forward. And so some people will have a preference though. Like maybe they feel like their eyes are beautiful, or maybe they do feel like their lips, or maybe they have beautiful high cheekbones. And so what I would do is within learning pretty much everything, I would focus in on what their preference was and help them to understand how they can bring that specific feature forward.
That's cool. Do you tell like men? Do you tell like men what they should do with their beards and eyebrows and stuff too? Is that like a new service you could add?
No, you're right. There are makeup artists who specialize in grooming. As a matter of fact, last year I was able to help at a convention. It was probably about 2,000 people there, and I helped backstage with the speakers. The speakers were pretty much all men, and so what I did was I helped them. I helped to make sure that they stayed matte, like their face, so that they didn't go out on the stage because they were in front of a camera. They were under lights, and so I made sure that they didn't look sweaty. They didn't look oily, and so I would apply a light layer of translucent powder on their faces, and maybe blotting papers and that sort of thing, like around their nose, around their mouth, like kind of in their T-zone as well. So that is something that I've done for me.
Cool.
Yeah, they were speakers, and so I did that. That was a pretty neat experience because I was used to working with women, but I had the opportunity to work with males because any speaker, they need that too. You know, males need that too, but you don't want to make them look like they have makeup on. So it was a fine balance.
Cool. Very cool.
It was fun.
That's cool that you get a. So that's the other thing of arts is that it's cookies and that it's makeup and I volunteer often with students that I work with and like really try to just make a point about I didn't have examples of what an artist was growing up other than my art teacher in elementary school, so I think there just needs to be a greater connection made between the makeup and track that could lead to that. It's a culmination of all these things that you've done in the past, probably. Same with cookies, and so I'm pretty passionate about that component of arts. Is everybody drawing? Is anybody stuck on what to draw?
Just curious, everyone who's drawing, what feel free to take your microphones off. What kind of direction has your artwork gone? If you guys want to show it on your screen, feel free to pick it up, but I'd be curious to see where everyone's imagination is going right now.
And does anybody draw or paint pretty regularly at the moment? Is it something anybody wants to learn more about?
I'm going to be honest with my artwork for today. I am actually just sitting here watching as I'm doing cookie stuff.
Awesome.
I had to
What do you do?
make these for an order, so I've got you propped up on my sheet table.
What order are you? What kind of order?
The one I've just cut is a graduation order for a girl who, you know, all these 2020 grads who really did not have a chance to celebrate their senior year and the graduation and that passing through. Has become a great market for me. So she's going to Ohio State. So I'm just doing Ohio State logos, the Buckeye nut plant, the Ohio State O, and then the Ohio State logo. And then it'll say, "Congrats, Cody." So just a dozen of just cheer her up, celebrate her for her achievements.
Cool. Do you have like a particular style when is it more illustrative, or is it more like realistic, or?
I have a range. I'm probably a little more, gosh, you know what? I probably am a little more animated than realistic, but I have a big range because my clientele has a big range.
Cool.
But, there's sometimes people want me to watercolor cookies on cookies and paint on cookies. So I started doing a little bit of that. That's not really my forte. I'm more of, think elementary art.
Yeah. Yeah.
That kind of
like
stuff.
simple.
Logos, block letters. I just did a bunch of, are they Maori symbols from New Zealand? Those black inked tattooed symbols. I just did a whole order of those that shipping out again. So I love that kind of stuff. I like mascots and I like logos. I like to do logos.
Yeah. So like the vector or the lines and like the kind of like symmetrical shapes and
Mm-hmm.
I see that. That would be fun. Study art formally or no?
I have an art minor, but went to school for education and then ended up in business. So kind of a gamut, but like you, always like to doodle, and I was always the person who made all the signs, like that sort of stuff. The lettering. Just always been really artistic. My mom's very artistic. She's more of a realistic oil painter. That's not a medium I enjoy at all. But that's definitely more elementary.
I've never used oil.
No, I mean, I have just playing around with a little bit of her stuff, but I like to mix the colors. I think that's pretty, but I don't like to paint it. I don't like the look of it.
Yeah. Is she still painting, your mom?
Yes and no. I mean, she doesn't do it seriously. She does it to relieve stress when she has time. But yeah, she has a little studio set up in her basement.
Cool.
Oh, you are so talented. I'm enjoying watching everything you're making.
Thanks so much. Cool. Thank you. Kind of free drawing today. It's probably been my least favorite start to the week in the last couple weeks. It's just harder to get going this week, and I'm feeling it in my creativity. Definitely feeling it. So it's been good to like get out, and the weather's getting nice, and it's been nice to get outside and mix it up a little bit. I've got a rabbit issue to solve in the back for this day. So that's the goal. There's a hole in the fence somewhere.
You can always make them into pets.
Hey Jake, it's Eli.
What's up, Eli?
What was going through your head when you started drawing what you are drawing? And how'd you come up with this?
I'm being pretty playful, so I think I have this. This is probably the most influential thing that I looked at, and other than that, I just was trying to be pretty playful and make a character. currently it's a hairless male character, but like pretty easily it could change and become like a crazy hairdo of some woman, or so I'm definitely like still in a very moldable, malleable kind of stage. Um, and the playfulness of just these guys, I just wanted on this little video today to just kind of show how I make an eyeball, how I make a doodle, and somehow to me it looks like a bird. So then I can just define this like belly and this wing. So I just kind of like play a little bit, and I kind of let I kind of look at it like layers, and I kind of like let go of it and I come back to it. Stuff like this, you know, I just add a little more definition to, and it becomes something that much more substantial, I guess. So didn't really like jump onto this with too much thought, other than working at like a half hour of drawing with kind of the freedom to just like make strokes. And I don't know, I think that's so important. I think just even if the rest of the day I work on all the projects that I have to get done, at least I took like 30 minutes to just kind of like surprise myself, or work on a shape, or a dinosaur, or a motion, or a hand gesture, or something. Like just that idea of like fine tuning is the purpose of this for me. It's not so much like what am I going to create, how's it looking. I just really make it a point not to judge kind of this part of my day, so that the other parts of my day that is maybe a client related project, that's the time I think it's worthy to like judge yourself a little harder. But I think it's important to balance those moments with like free drawing. So whether that's like biking, or some people crochet, or some people make you know, cards for each other. Just any like 20-30 minutes a day that you can do, just kind of let your creativity flow. I think it helps keep it maintained. And I just want to say thanks to Eli and Dee for setting up the Beehive. It's been really nice to connect with everybody. It's been really nice to incorporate this into my routine in the day. So
thanks for doing this. I mean, this is something that I could never feel comfortable attempting, and I think it's cool that the judgment-free aspect sort of gave me the opportunity to feel like I could doodle a little bit, not as well without judging myself.
the awareness, yeah. No.
Jake, I have a question. Sorry, I'm sitting close to Eli. Jake, I have trouble drawing faces. What tips do you have for drawing faces? I mean, even though I know you have a very, artistic version of a face right there, it still looks very realistic. What tips do you have?
Yeah, so that's one of my favorite questions. The guy that I studied from is an illustrator named Andrew Loomis, and Andrew Loomis draws an orange, like the fruit, like an orange, and he says to like imagine a nail going through it. So just like a nail, right? Like a hammer and nail. And so taking this shape and imagining an orange is round, so you create the top, create. This would be like the top, this would be like the hairline, this would be like the eyebrows. The nose, the mouth, and the chin. And so pretty quickly, like, you can just add a few lines. Just like that quickly, you have a little more dimension, right? So then that becomes so now I'm just kind of choosing like, well, I want the nose. So I'm thinking about like the head being 3/4 turned. So I want the nose to come out. And I know just like based on these rules that I work off of, which are hair, eyebrows, so I just kind of like work off these rules that this is kind of the way the proportions fall. And then I'll just go back to kind of the creative process of it. And the ear falls between, I'm just like hurrying through this, but the ear usually falls between like these two lines. And so for mouth, I like to just make like I guess it's like an M, and then a little half circle, and then the chin kind of comes out. And so these are just like rules that I use and can manipulate. Maybe I want the person to look up or over, down. And then for hair, I like to have fun and just like start further away and just kind of make some like gestural motions so that I can try to capture some motion. And then the body is just like also some rules and proportions where I've created the center line, so I'll probably continue that here. That's a cool question. Thanks for asking. And then you can apply that to like animals too. So if you want to make a rabbit, and I just like really, really lightly just set up some foundation. This one might be further away, so I'll color that one in, make it darker, further away, kind of separate the two ears that I'm making for this rabbit. And I'll try to make one bigger than the other one. They could be closer to me.
right. This has been so awesome, Jake. Does anybody else have any other questions, or we can do a little bit of show and tell if anybody wants to show off what they put together?
Let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Here, I'll start. I drew my desk. It's very, I don't know if you can actually see it. So this is my desk. I had the beehive on my screen, my cups of water. My mom put some flowers up here in the windows. So just kind of drawing my surroundings. But if anybody else would like to share, I'd love to see what everybody worked on. No, Blythe was working on cookies, so that's great. Oh, it was still, I had Jake's video spotlighted, so no one actually saw it. Here we go, let's try this again. So this is what I had drawn.
Yeah, nice.
So that's what I have, but if anybody else would like to show their doodles or drawings or anything, we'll pop those up here as we start to kind of wrap things up.
That's really fun. I like your keyboard a lot. And
Thanks.
the beehive a lot. Yeah.
Realized it was a little ambitious to try to do the entire keyboard, so the space bar felt good enough.
That's the indicator is the space bar. Yes.
Yeah.
Calgary. So yeah, I had fun. Hopefully it was like a stress-free half hour for everybody, and I hope one takeaway for everybody would just be to like practice creativity 30 minutes a day and just exercise it, and during that exercise, like, don't judge yourself, and kind of like use it as an exploration. So thanks for letting me draw with everybody.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jake. This was awesome. I think this is just that reprieve everybody's brains need right now during all of this, and hopefully people will start incorporating this in more. Anybody has any drawing questions or anything too, Jake is a member of the Beehive, so feel free to reach out to him. I'm sure he'd be more than happy to answer any questions. So all that being said, we'll see you guys all again on Friday. And as always, reach out to me if you need.
Thank you. See ya. Take care.